earlier this week, I was on a podcast with ex-WHU employee, and we were talking about the January transfer window. It's not something I really want to keep going on about, to be honest. I don't want to feel like I'm coming across being negative and moaning and stuff like that. But this is something I feel like needs to be talked about because of basically what X said and what he revealed. Because we were talking about what had happened, what had transpired, and basically what went wrong. Because if you remember, we've been heavily linked with quite a few players. Well, I want to say quite a few. It wasn't actually that many, was it? It was Ibrahim Osman was the sort of main target, the number one target. We also wanted Jota, and we also had a few people like Jack Clark from Sunderland and people like that. So there's a few people we'd had interest in, but ultimately, Ibrahim Osman was our main target. We obviously got Calvin Phillips as a midfielder. Great signing. I'm sure he will come good for West Ham. England international. You can't moan at that really at all. But the priority position, as we knew straight away from the early on the window, was the left wing. We obviously let players go. So I said to X at the time, it felt like when the window started, when we let go of Tilo Kehre, went on loan to Monaco with a view that he's probably going to be going there permanently. West Ham were getting their things in order, knew what they were going to be doing. And then, of course, it all sort of unravelled towards the end of the window, didn't it? It felt like we'd lost our plan. It all went out the window. It felt like this sort of club that sort of come across originally looking quite organised and knowing what they wanted suddenly looked like they were sort of, finding news out about certain players very late on. It was all a bit of a mess. And really, let's be honest, we ended up weakening our squad. And as I've said in the previous video, I felt like it was a case of that. Certainly now that questions need to be answered. People need to be accountable and say what went wrong, because we were supposed to be pushing on this season and trying to grab the chance that we've got. And then we've decided to make our squad weaker and cause ourselves a few issues, really. So I obviously wanted to get from X what his take of it was and trying to understand from behind the scenes what's gone wrong, what's happened, what actually happened. And his response was really interesting in that. And quite damning, really, in terms of what's happened. And it's really annoyed me, and hence why for this video, because I think it needs to be talked about. And I'd like to know your thoughts on it as well. But it's to do with this transfer committee. So David Sullivan has hired this committee effectively. He's brought in Tim Steidten as the sort of technical director. You've got Mark Noble as the sporting director who's learning off of Tim. We've got the scouting network. We've got Rob Newman, I think, who's head of recruitment. And of course, you've got David Moyes. So this panel of people that are working to improve upon the squad, whether it be outgoings and ingoings. They want to incoming, shall I say. And that's what is the structure at the moment at the club when it comes to identifying players that we want to bring in. Now, what I'm really finding bizarre about the whole thing is that the whole point of this was that effectively that David Sullivan now was going to be taking a back seat from this, which was a huge relief to West Ham fans, because we have known that for a long time that Sullivan's had such a big part to play in the recruitment side of things, and far too much so, for someone really that's just an owner. He's just got the money. He's not a football expert. And I'm not, I'm not no one else, but I mean, at the end of the day, you hire the right people. And it did feel like when we were getting Tim Steidten in and him bringing in his own recruitment team and these scouts and things, you felt like we're stepping in the right direction. And we certainly felt like this summer, didn't we, with the players that we brought in? I mean, Mohamed Kudus has been, amazing for us. It's unbelievable signing. Of course, we've had Paqueta previously, of course, as well. We just seem to be stepping in the right direction. And you can't argue that there was that feeling that the old days are gone, that David Sullivan was effectively now doing what he should be doing, which is effectively just writing the checkbook, providing the budget, just saying that this is what you've got to spend. You go and do the business. You let us know what you want to do, and then I will then provide the money for you to do so. So I didn't see it as being anything other than that, really. But now what has transpired is, with regards to our January transfer window, is that Sullivan actually has got still a huge say, and so much so actually that he has blocked the purchasing of players. He was the one that stopped us from signing Ibrahim Osman. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand how that's helpful. One, why is he getting involved at that stage? Why is he challenging Tim Steidten, Rob Newman, David Moyes and Mark Noble when they are all in agreement that that was the right player for us? Why? Why is Sullivan then? Because apparently what we understood is that David Sullivan's taken advice from another agent a friend of his, someone a close confidant. Now, X did want to stress when he was saying that this guy actually isn't always a negative influence. He was the one that really, swayed Sullivan effectively to say, yes, Lucas Paqueta's a great player. You need to bring him to West Ham. So I'm not suggesting that this guy's a terrible influence overall. But apparently, what I understand it is that Tim Steidten and his team, let's just call it the recruitment team, had identified Ibrahim Osman. They had said, yep, this is the player we want. This is the guy we want on the left wing. He's going to be the one that's going to be the right player for West Ham. The player wanted to move. The fees had been agreed. It was all set up to go. And David Sullivan then gets advice that he's overpaying by a couple of million quid, I believe it to be. Not a lot, a couple of million quid. Obviously a lot to me and you, of course, but, in terms of the realms of football, pretty small, really, when you consider West Ham, the size of West Ham and the budgets we've got, not a lot of money. And basically, that is what disrupted the move. I mean, I think there was a bit of complications regarding the agent as well. I'm not saying all that, but ultimately that was a big problem, that David Sullivan effectively went, no, he's not worth that amount of money. I don't believe that to be the case. And that caused us a big problem. And it effectively collapsed the deal. Why? Why are we letting that happen? And for me, what's that doing to Tim Steidten? What's it doing to our recruitment team? Because at the end of the day, what's the point of having them then? If you're not going to listen to the people you've hired that are the experts that are saying to you, this is the deal you need to go and do, and then you're then going no because some mate of mine has said, actually, you shouldn't do that, then it kind of beggars belief what the feeling must be behind the scenes, what that must be doing to our recruitment team. It's really frustrating. And then, of course, just to rub salt in the wound, today, it's then been revealed that Brighton have struck a deal for the player to sign in the summer for around 20 million euros. Now, if that isn't a big indication at all to us fans that this player is a decent player, because let's be honest, Brighton's recruitment is bloody spot on. They are notoriously good at their recruitment. They find players abroad, bring them in, and then they develop them, and then they sell them on for a huge profit. That's what Brighton do. They're very, very good at it. They've got a very good side. Their recruitment is spot on. So the fact is that they've gone and got the player suggests that actually, I mean, look, it's all hypothetical, okay? I had a lot of people today commenting. I put a tweet up saying, my frustrations with it, and saying, well, but you could be useless. You don't know. That's not the point. The point isn't guessing how good they're going to be. I could say the same back and say, well, he could be like Lionel Messi in a few years. We don't know. That's not the point. The point is our team have said to our owner, this is the player we should be buying. This is the deal. Go and get it done. And our owner has gone, no. And then Brighton, Hove Albion have stepped in and gone, we'll have him then. It's really frustrating. I mean, one, we should have got the deal done in January. I mean, that was the frustration because now we are significantly weaker going into the second half of the season. We're seeing it already, aren't we? Let's be honest. Seeing it already. We've got Ben Johnson having to utilise as a midfielder at the moment because we're so weak, low on numbers. I know we've got a couple of injuries, but you're going to have injuries throughout the season. Our squad is very thin. I'm really frustrated. And the fact is now that it feels like Sullivan once again is meddling and having far too much say in things where he's handed that. He's brought in these experts. He's got a panel of people. The fact is David Moyes wanted the player. Steidten, Noble and Newman, these players all wanted this player. It was unanimous that he was the right player to bring into the football club. And we've decided not to. Look, I bloody hope it doesn't bite us in the arse. I really, really hope. As someone says, well, he might not do well at Brighton. I hope he doesn't in a way. Well, no, I hope I hope for him, for the player. I don't want to be all to the lad because I hope he does well for him. But obviously, he might be proven that he's not good enough. It might be, but I doubt it. The fact Arsenal were looking at the player, Brighton were obviously very keen. They've now got the deal. West Ham, panel all agreed he was the right player to bring into West Ham, and then one man disrupts the whole thing, and it's really frustrating. And then again, it not only brings in the frustration of what's going on, what are you doing, but it also brings in the question of ambition. Like, why is it that we can't spend an extra £1 million? You know what I mean? It's a big Premier League club. It's supposed to be chasing top 5 this season, top 6, and trying to get in mixed in with these teams. And yet we're going, we can't. It really is frustrating. Really, really annoying. And I'm angry that it feels like a big step backwards now. That does feel like the feeling of that, fingers crossed now Sullivan's sort of finally walking away from the table when it comes to negotiations and players and recruitment and all that. He's just going to be signing the checks. That's all we should be doing. That's all he should be doing. But no, he's now back firmly in, you know, having his sway around the place and making the big decisions. And when it comes to recruitment, and it's just so frustrating. And it must be very deflating for the team. You know, you imagine because we only see the end products, don't we? We see we're interested in this player. Oh, it didn't happen. But can you imagine the work that's gone into identifying the player? They've gone scouting the player. They've been traveling abroad, watching him, looking at reports, looking at videos, having meetings. They've probably spent a long, long time working on bringing Osman to West Ham for it then not to happen, all because of, you know, a mate of Sullivan saying he's not worth that. You know, it really is very frustrating. And I feel like, look, I want to draw a line under this because I don't want to keep moaning. I don't want to keep coming on and moaning about January transfer window. At the end of the day, it's gone. Nothing we can do about it. We've got the squad we've got. We've got to move forward. But hearing that was really annoying. And as I say, that the frustrating bit is not just because we didn't get the business done. It just feels like the club have taken a real big step backwards.